And we are live, guys. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today, guys? Let me know. It's a pleasure to be here. I am, as you can hear, my voice is a lot better and my nose is a lot more clean. So I'm back in action and healthy and everything. So, yeah. It's kind of a spontaneous idea to basically start up the stream, and I thought, you know what? As we are having some volatility right now, and 9 out of 10 times when I start streaming, the volatility kind of dies down. So hopefully we're gonna get some. What I want to do is essentially just walk you through what is happening on Bitcoin right now. I also want to do an AMA. So if you have any questions or something that you've been wanting to ask me, it can also be something outside of the realm of trading. I kind of want to take a little bit of time and, engage with you guys and go over that as well. And so write them out in the chat, and then I will simply read them and answer them as best as I can. And so there we go. One thing that I do want to show you guys is really cool. I got myself this. It's a Roadcaster. Let me see if you can see it. So with this, I can do some cool podcasts, which I do have lined up for you guys very soon. I can even make some DJing for you, although that's not something I'm very experienced or good at. But regardless, so that is gonna be coming up very soon. We're gonna have market makers join the stream, hedge fund managers, and we're gonna have like a conversation talking about trading. So that's in the pipeline. So that's gonna come up soon. So yeah, the future is bright, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see, how many people do we currently have going on in the chat so far? So about 100 viewers, just slightly below. So that's a good start on a Monday afternoon for me. So I don't know what time it is for you. But essentially, we are in the middle of the New York trading session, and that's so we're gonna have some live price action to go over as well. So all in all, gonna be fun. Let me see who's in the chat. By the way, don't forget to hit the likes, guys. So to push the algorithm a little bit, get this video out there so more people can join in on the conversation and on the analysis. So hit it, and I'll be happy. And So let me see. We have Alexandru in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Hi above. Joshua, Poulette, Vasil, Frankie. Hi, guys. Welcome. Glad you guys have found a little bit of your time to join the stream. I think it's good because we do have some volatility on Bitcoin. So yeah, I guess what I will do is start over with some of the. Let me just go over how my trading day has been thus far. It's been going quite okay, to be fair. At the moment, I'm not into any day trading positions because I was busy earlier on in the day, and and of course, yesterday and the days before it was weekend, which I generally don't trade. So I could have shorted. There were actually three opportunities. One was really aggressive, and the other two were one was tricky, and one was a lot better to take. So I want to go over that. I haven't taken that trade myself because I was simply, having weekend, and in the weekend I try to make it into a habit to not spend time behind the computer, spend some time in the real world. Because that's important too. Today, nice volatile day. I have taken a scalp long here right at the lows, which I'm now out of because I think price locally looks fairly weak still. And I don't think staying in a long any longer, something that was originally a scalp trade anyway, doesn't make sense to over expect that. So yeah, where shall I begin? Let me see. So I guess the best way to start is picking up on where we left off at the latest video that I put out, which was where we were trading around the $30,000 mark. Now we have lost the $30,000 mark and trading slightly below, about $600-700 below. In that stream, I basically said, okay, we are having this local range going on over here. I said in that stream, it's highly likely we're going to test the highs first before we're going to see any sort of retracement. This happened exactly as I anticipated. So we tested the highs over here. We challenged that high initially, had a little bit of a swing failure pattern type of price action, consolidated there for another 8 hours or so, where we ultimately broke out of the range. Now, that break of the range didn't look convincing to me at all. This happened on Friday morning. This didn't happen. This wasn't convincing to me. Why? Well, simply because the volume really wasn't there. And how do I assess that? So let me walk you guys through that, and then I will go over the options that you had if you're trading weekends, that you had to essentially take a short trade, and then moving on to what is the current situation, how I've been trading this scalp trade, why did I close the trade, and what we can do from here on out. So I will ease the way into the live analysis as we come. So as far as the positions, I'm only long still from $20,676 remaining in that long. At the moment, no reason to close the trade. It's also a swing trade. On the day trading time frame, currently I'm flat, meaning that I'm in no position. So what happened over here? This was concerning to my last video. Essentially what we had over here, we had a pretty initially solid breakout based off of liquidations, really, because we had a decrease in open interest. The total volume of that candle was about the $60 million mark, initiated solely by squeezes. Directly after that, we saw a mediocre follow-up with fresh longs opening, nothing too crazy, and a little bit of a lack of volume, really, where we saw an initial rejection, initially, dropping below that VWAP throughout the day. Actually, let me just double check if that's the same session. Yes, it was. Ultimately, later on in the day, reclaiming that, taking on a new high. Same story, really. Not enough volume, as simple as that. Also initiated by an initial squeeze. The volume locally was decent, to be fair, but overall, if you would compare it to that high previously into that, yes, there was a little bit more volume, yes, there was a little bit more delta, but there was simply no follow through with fresh long. So it basically only was a squeeze up. Overall, what I would have wanted to see there was a lot more volume, a lot more longs opening up with that, so that we could sustain that breakout of that local range over here. That didn't happen, and instead what we did, we got a local rejection coming back down into this range where we simply ranged onwards, giving us a potential shorting opportunity slightly later on. Allow me to demonstrate how you could have looked at it, because the way that I was looking at it is as follows. Let me just mark this out. For me, simple as that. Top of the range, right? And I'm choosing this wick because here we have nice respect. So that's the reason why I'm choosing that. We also have nice respect over here, respect over here, respect over here. Very well defined horizontal level, and the same goes for this low over here. Actually, it doesn't really matter too much. Actually, I should align this on the wick because I did so here as well. But just for the sake of it, for now, I'm gonna put it on the candle close. In the end, the point is being made with showing that has been respect today. We saw a little bit of a bounce, and ultimately we broke down. Now, as far as this high goes, this was made on Friday afternoon for me, or Friday in the morning actually. We then drop down back into the range. So that is essentially the first sign of the rejection. Now, did I expect a full drop down? Again, highlighted that in that video, in that public video that I made as well. Do I expect a full-on reversal straight from there on out? No, I don't. So what am I looking for then? The thing is that, okay, this looks very weak. Right, but does this mean that you should be very, very aggressive on the shorts right away? Well, I guess you could. However, this has time and time again proven over the last few months that this has never really been a great option. So for that reason, I'm deciding to be a little bit more conservative, because after all, the overall trend remains stable and upwards. And in that regards, on the higher time frame, really not much has changed as of yet, right? So that is really not that much to worry about. For day trading, some opportunities did open up, because what I said, like, okay, do I expect a total rejection from here on out? No, I don't. The first thing that I would be looking for is simply, if you get back into the range, right? In other words, have some candle closes, or based if you're trading off of order flow, you could see the influx of volume coming in there, invalidating a potential, back test trading setup, so to speak, and looking for higher prices. What we did instead is actually drop down back into the range with a candle close, and from that moment on, you can class this as a failed attempt of breaking out of the range that came before. Now, since we've dropped back into the range, you can essentially just trade that range onwards from there on out. So what you would do is simply wait for a backtest, and then based off the reaction from there, look for shorts. Now, I will explain to you that why I don't necessarily think this is a great place to short. Technically, it's respected, right? So, and obviously in hindsight, now it looks like it would have been a great trade. But personally, I would not have been a great fan of actually taking that trade per se. The reason for that is because it's difficult to have an invalidation if you're just simply trading off of the time frames alone. It's simply not worth the risk. Because if you would take a short trade from here, from the top of the range, the first time, let's say, that price reaches that level, then your stop loss would have been here. And if I would be only looking to trade the range, which is a 2.2% move, it's simply just not worth, because the amount of risk that I would put on the trade would result in the outcome, the potential of what I can get out of the trade would be equal to the risk that I want to that I'm putting on here. And that's something that I don't like to do, because the type of trades that I like to take is I'm willing to put on risk and I have no problem losing a trade at all. However, if I'm taking a trade, I want to make sure that the potential that I can get out of the trade is far larger than what I have to risk. So for that reason, it's not a good trade setup and one that I'm not willing to take. Also, at this point in time, the overall structure remains up. So a continuation afterwards could have still been very well in the cards, right? So after that, you would have had a rejection and then another backtest of this range, which is, I'm not gonna lie, this would have been a difficult trade. And if you're not experienced in reading order flow, I would say it's totally acceptable that you didn't take the trade, maybe because of lack of confidence, maybe a bit of a lack of experience. It's totally fine. What happened over here at that backtest at the time is simply we've put in the high, right? And we came up again, right? So we had that $8.7 million candle over here. And as we were ranging onwards, then we tapped that level again. And as you can see, if you're a little bit more experienced and know already a little bit what I'm talking about, you might already see why this is a little bit more difficult to get the confidence to take that kind of trade, right? Because first of all, you're above intraday levels here, you're above the VWAP, but the volume here is lacking somewhat, right? So the volume is just simply not there. We're trading here at sub-million, like below 1 million volume per 5-minute candles, right? We do put in a double top, making it a little bit so because I would have preferred for that high to be actually taken out, new longs opening there, getting trapped, and then actually see the rejection. So there are these reasons why this, could have been a decent trade in terms of risk to reward ratio. But in terms of the reactions, not really there at this point in time. We do see some bearish CFD divergences, albeit very, very, very weak and very local. Ultimately, we did drop down and we continued on ranging, as simple as that. Now, if you saw this trade setup, I would say it's a little bit of a better opportunity than the other one. And the reason for that is now your invalidation level is much lower because it's above this high. And as you can see, the reward that you might get out of it is an insane risk to reward ratio. So I only need to risk about 0.5% in order of price action, not position size or my entire portfolio, but I'm talking here about relative position sizes. So I have to risk here 0.5% worth of price action in order to gain potentially 2.2%. Now that is for me worth a trading setup, right? Now this happened in the weekend, so I just basically missed it because I just didn't look at it. And for the reasons mentioned before, this is not the easiest trade setup. It's there's no real conviction. So I understand it's acceptable if you would miss out on that trade. Then we had that third opportunity where we have a little bit more conviction on the price action, right? So if you would ask me, like, would you have shorted right at the high? No, I wouldn't have. Why? Because I would have, again, liked for this to be taken out, this high to be taken out. Also, because we're here trading in this range, at this point in time, it does look like we're going to break out, right? That's not something I necessarily want to jump in front of. However, if you then fail that attempt, so option number one for me was a potential SFP over here. However, if you then this didn't happen, so that setup never was presented in any case. If you then actually, once again, try to trade back into the range, and for that we do have to go back on the lower time frame, actually on the 3 minutes, because that's the only time frame here where we can actually see some sort of market structure, where we were having over here this kind of situation, we're sloping upwards in a very unhealthy way due to the shape that consolidation has. Once again, not reaching even this top at all, right? So you would have to go for a little bit more conservative entry, meaning you would need to lose this local market structure and, in other words, coming back into the range. So if you would be shorting here, then I think the most realistic scenario would probably be that you would get yourself into a short more or less around this. Yes, this is a local breakout trade. That's true. And I'm always saying I'm not necessarily a breakout trader, but I'm trading here for the slightly larger picture, you know, and this is where I'm always having the trade idea in mind. And even though on the 3-minute time frame, yes, this is a breakout trade to the downside locally. However, I'm trading, ultimately, the trading idea is essentially a back test of that range, getting back again and going for that rotation. Hopefully, I'm not making it too complex out here. You can see that I've, you know, after I've been sick, I'm back. I'm hungry and I'm totally back into it. And that would have given you your third opportunity, and in my opinion, a beautiful one, right? Because we did had a full-on rotation back to the downside, right? And very well worth the risk. Beautiful setup. I didn't take it because it was weekend. So that brings us more to where we are at right now. So what happened over here, we tapped this bottom of the range really brilliantly. In my opinion, worth a trade setup as we were taking out these and these lows. We also have this low. Never really gotten that. The way that I actually traded that, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that. So I've been taking a long here, and earlier in the day I also took a long here, which I've also closed really pretty much at the top as well. And the reason for that is as follows. So allow me to explain. So we've taken out this low and this low, right? Which could, and we are at the bottom of the range. So which could set us up for a nice local swing failure pattern, right? So not this low. Would have liked that as well. But the way that we came down there already made me slightly cautious. Still worth a trade, right? So the trade setup looked initially like this, right? However, knowing that we are actually in a local downtrend, low, lower high, lower low, continuation of the trend is more likely. At the same time, we're at the bottom of the range. And I trade ranges until they break. So for me, this was a legitimate long trading setup. This was the idea. However, the way that we came there was actually because of liquidations, once again. So we dropped here, as you can see today earlier on, right? All that happened on a decrease of open interest, meaning that longs are getting stopped out. So what I actually would like to see is people getting really afraid there. I want to see shorts opening up there and then them getting trapped. So that didn't necessarily happen. So for me, that was already the first sign where I thought like, okay, it's still worth putting on that risk because the potential is there. But I'm going to be a bit more conservative on my take profit levels. And I simply just traded this based off of market structure alone, where I would be looking for anywhere this wick until this candle close for it to be coming back into play. Or in other words, seeing a back test of that local resistance, right? That would have been brilliant. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. So as I was in this trade, observing the way that this went along showed to me like, hey, it doesn't look that strong. Because what happened over here, right, we dropped here on heavy volume. And what I want to see for a rotation is that after we reclaim a level, for example, let's say this was the VWAP in this case, I would like for that momentum to be picked up. I want to see more volume coming into the market. I want to see people longing at the bottom of the range, essentially trading with me, and that didn't really happen. So that kind of stayed out for a little bit, and that made me think like, okay, do you know what? This bounce actually looks kind of weak. And on top of that, we are also trading against that bearish market structure. By the time over here, I would say like, okay, as long as we don't get back into this section, there's really no point into just over expecting this trade. I mean, the volume is not there, the conviction is not there. So you know what? I took 80% profit off the trade, pretty much at the top. So somewhere around $30,000 and from the top of my head, 25 or something like that, or 30, something like that. And for good reason, because we started dropping down. The remainder 20% of my short, I closed a little bit lower after we actually started, declining further up here. Really slight profit, nothing much to write home about. Overall, it was a profitable trade. And, starting to get back into that support again and again. And at this point in time, it was pretty obvious to me that we were failing to reclaim even the most local market structure. No point in trying to long this again, as the level already has been tested, not once, but twice, but 3 times. And on top of that, we still have this low to be taken out. And also, this kind of looks not too great, right? Pretty much looks like a bear flag. And that's exactly what happened. We dropped out, did not SFP this low, right? So for me, never another long trade has been presented until slightly later, because we dropped out of here from this range, right? Where we had that initial bounce, and I did not long this low. Again, really, really, really big liquidation wick, a lot of longs getting stopped out. However, did not take the long over here. However, it did give me a good reason to look for a more local setup once again, right? Again, having my reference point, my volume, my delta going on here. Also seeing some liquidity issues at the very, very, very low over here, right? Having another weak bounce, very weak volume, ranging on again, very much the same situation as over here, exactly the same situation, taking out this low once again, and this happened very, very, very quickly. So what happened over here, it's a little bit difficult to see now because this candle has already been completed, but a few things, and this is very important. What happened over here, first of all, the volume was not really there as we broke down. That is where we did saw shorts coming into the market. Super quick reaction out of there. Here they're already getting liquidated and longs actually joining up into play, right? Giving me another reason to actually join into the long and looking for a retracement. I'm out of the trade because at the moment still looks weak, because we still do not see any continuation, and this trade ultimately turned out to be a little bit of really, really, really little profits, slight profit, very, very small, but at least, I closed the trade now, and I closed it on time, and, I didn't lose any money, right? That's the most important thing. Winning trades is great, but losing trades is not what you want, even if the trade doesn't play out the way that you want. So for me, early close, so I kind of joined up in here, can't remember the exact price point, around here. And I pretty much just closed it up here. So literally 0.3% profits. I mean, small bits do add up though, small bits do add up. But is this a home run? No, it isn't. Ultimately, I was looking actually for that backtest, which is still in the cards, by the way. But as I'm looking at locally, currently, it doesn't look great, to be fair. We might actually get that bounce going on, but I would have wanted to see, let's say this, and then I would have wanted to see this high being tested, right? Potentially back tested, and then going up for that next now freshly resistance level, because this was support and now it should be resistance. We might still come there later on in the day, but from here on out, I think it's much more likely we're going to have another drop in price before we're going to have a bigger bounce. Simply because of the fact that even though we SFP'd this, price just couldn't muster up the strength to not even challenge this high, let alone this high. Right? So again, I'm not over expecting the trades. I'm taking my responsibility and simply just reacting on what the price is given there. So the setup was there, the potential was there, but the way that price simply progressed made me change my mind. And, even made a little bit of profit. So, it's all good. It's all good. So now currently we are just ranging, as I said before, like always when I start to stream, we just price volatility just drops out and dies down. But hey, this is what you get. This is day trading. You kind of have to have your plan ready. And then based on what is happening and the way that the chart is progressing, you can simply just reassess and rethink if your idea still is a good one. And I decided that I just simply do not want to be in this position. At the moment, we're just hanging outside of the range. We're just consolidating. Even locally, we cannot reclaim anything. So for me, there's really no point in just sitting in a trade that I'm trading against a local downtrend. I mean local, like 15 minutes downtrend, potentially hourly now. So longing here is aggressive and fairly risky. And at the moment, I don't feel like taking on that unnecessary risk. So that's the reason why I closed the trade. And currently I am flat and not in a trade. Maybe later on in the day or in an hour or whatever, a new setup will be presented. So that is where we currently are at. So local levels that really need to be reclaimed, first of all, is, really, I would say just that 29,475 is super local. We really need to reclaim that. After that, and I'm more talking now about for the scalpers here, right? Because I've been doing some higher time frame analysis, and I thought, you know what? Let's also give some love to the day traders over here. During this live stream, we're pretty much in the middle of the New York session, and we have volatility. So I thought, why not? If this is too complex for you, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. Higher time frame analysis and midterm time frame analysis. I will keep on obviously doing that. I just thought now is a good moment to just go over some day trading things because we have the volatility. First level that we need to reclaim is this one. Then we need to reclaim this level over here. And only then we can actually think and consider that we might see a retest of the range we've just broken out of a few hours ago. This is a major checkpoint because if we do manage to actually reclaim that range, then we have a very similar situation as here. Then we could say like, oh, you know what? We reclaimed this, then we can say like, oh, we have had a deviation to the upside. And if we reclaim that, then this once again can be classed as a deviation as well, not on the upside, but actually on the downside. And the range simply continues with that 30,004 or 30,500 level being the major local resistance. If we reclaim that, well, then obviously this high comes back into play, and then we can start looking at the higher time frames again, such as $32,000, $33,000. So yeah, wow, I think I've been talking non-stop for a while. I notice it in my throat. Need to take a drink. There was coffee, not very helpful. A bit of water. So, that is currently simply what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Ooh, and I totally forget about the downside. So, simple as that. As long as we do not essentially reclaim this level, right? This 29,500 level, really. Then I would say the most important level next would be that 28,650, which marks the top of this range, right? Where we could potentially look yet for another reaction, local time frame switch, and then we can simply look for this level once again, and then all the other levels that I literally just mentioned come back into play. At the moment, just hovering around here. If you're really down into scalping and things like that, then you could also say like, oh, you know what? Currently, this is what we got. Super local range. This is a range, well, actually a good range. 0.8% to the downside and obviously to the upside as well. So that could be, if you're really like a hardcore low time frame trader based off of whatever, volume or whatever you do, that's something you could look to trade. So it's a little bit of a decision-making area. At the moment, we're just hanging in the middle of nowhere. If you would point a gun to my head, judging from the way that this is progressing, I would expect slightly lower prices first before a bigger bounce. And so far, I would say my analysis, and until then, we could just range on, right? With that 29,600 being the top and this 29,300-ish, give or take a few dollars, being the bottom. And that's it. That's really it. Kind of also want to take a quick look at the ES. ES also seeing, well, it's actually not too bad, really. It's actually really not... it's kind of quiet, really. It's kind of quiet on the ES. It's kind of quiet. So this is really just a Bitcoin move today. Dollar is actually going up, though. So that's the inverse correlation is doing its work on Bitcoin. But the overall stock markets looking kind of okay, kind of stable. You know, nothing special, really. But the dollar is making some moves. Locally today looks kind of strong. Overall, my opinion really hasn't changed on the dollar. Doesn't look great. Did take out this low the other day, and that gave us the bounce that we're currently in. So for the dollar, same story really. Like, this is the first level we need to reach, although I would prefer that 103 being taken out first. Ultimately, for me to consider more upside on the dollar. Till now, it's kind of a little bit, just local volatility, really local volatility. As far as the overall uptrend goes, my stance remains unchanged. I still foresee, as long as we do not lose this region, as long as we don't lose $27,000, really, I have no reason to think anything about the uptrend being over, really. That would be even that would not necessarily be invalidation, but that would be a first sign of weakness. If ultimately we really start dropping down below 25k, that is when it's much more likely that the local trend is over and we are going to see some more downwards price action. But at the moment, we're literally, $5,000 pretty much above that still. So I think that's pretty far away. Definitely not for day trading. Can it happen? Can we drop 15% in a single day? Well, for those who've been around for some time, we could for sure. But this is not something that I would normally expect on any other, like an average day. And let's be honest, it's just Monday. It's an average day. It's, there's nothing crazy going on. It's just a normal day. And that's how it's progressing thus far. So we have some local unrest in terms of downside, downwards pressure today, but am I worried about the overall trend? No, it's way too early. For me, it's just 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 day trading stuff really, and for the higher time frame, really not that much has changed. So we're gonna have to see how the dollar progresses. Let me just quickly take a look at that. It has really not that much to go off of, really. Yeah, I'm just not convinced yet about the strength of the dollar. Need more time and more data to assess that. But this is not something I would class like, oh my god, the dollar is super strong right now. For me, this is local volatility, and we are reacting on that on BTC. But is this all like super worrying? No, it isn't. At least for not. By the way, I also really just came to mind. I really want to thank you guys. We've reached the 4,000 subscriber limit, which is amazing. So we're going strong on this channel, and we're growing each and every day. So just a quick shout out to all of you guys for giving me all the support thus far. Really appreciate that. Okay, so until I have something else to talk about, I'm going to take a look at the chat, answer some questions that you guys have. So let me pop this out and you guys can read along. And if you have any questions, or if you want to ask something, don't be afraid, don't hesitate, just write them out and I'll go over them and look at them. So let's see, what do we have over here? Hi Mike, good, how are you? I'm good as well. Hey Mike, I just wanted to ask you, how do you deal with psychology in trading? I personally struggle a lot with that, even though my technical analysis is on point. Do you have any advices? Okay, so I think that question is very, very, very broad. I find it difficult. I'm not sure what angle I should take on that. So if you could be a little bit more specific, then I think I would be able to answer it a little bit more in detail, because this is very broad. What are you struggling with? Are you lack of confidence, or are you getting afraid, or like it can be anything. It's very, very, very broad. So if you could be a bit more specific, then I would appreciate that. Joshua is asking, what's the best tool or part of a strategy that helped you become a profitable trader? Good one. Well, obviously I have multiple strategies. I would say the most important one is the one that I'm pretty much completely self-taught about, which is order flow. Really, that really gives kind of an edge. It also depends. I would class myself as a very aggressive trader. If you're an aggressive trader and I'm trading price action, then order flow for me has been the best tool. It does take time to learn that, takes quite a lot of time, because you can find yourself a teacher who can explain you all the concept and help you accelerate the process. But with order flow, it's kind of a different beast in the sense that it requires more. You need to sync up with it. You need to expose yourself a lot to this information in order for you to kind of get into the flow and seeing patterns of what has happened in the past and how things are changing, because this is pretty much the most dynamic type of information that you can get. One of the most asked questions that I've received over the last 5 years, and thousands of hours of educating, is what is a lot of volume? Is 20 million in one candle a lot of volume, or is 5 million volume a lot in a candle? Well, I would say it depends. It really depends on what is the average volume, let's say. In January, 5 million volume candle, or December, sorry, was a lot. It was like high volume. Now it's not so much, because we can already see, like, on a just an average candle, we already have multi-million-dollar candles, right? So it changes. It's always dynamic. However, if you do get accustomed to reading this information and being able to act on that, yeah, it can definitely give you an edge in terms of getting the sniper entries on exact price points, which is one of the reasons how I actually managed to get into my swing long trade all the way at $20,000, 676, I think. What was it? Yeah, 676 or something like that. 20 here in this region. That was through order flow. Volume drying up, just losing support, a lot of people getting bearish, a lot of fear in the market, and me just playing the opposite of what everybody expects, essentially. So yeah, I would say that gave me definitely an edge. In earlier on, I actually also scalped off of Elliott waves at the time, but I was profitable from that. But I would not recommend it, to be honest, because it's very time consuming, and I do think it's. Of course, you can use it on the lower time frame, but I would say it's much more suitable for context generation, and that is something that you typically want to do on the higher time frames. But I have done it, and it can help you, but you need to study also a lot. It's very time consuming, very complicated, very complex. I guess the the answer on that question is it's not necessarily one tool. It's more about putting in the time and effort, and especially putting that effort into understanding the context of the market, and being able to dissect the different the different pieces of the chart, and isolate them, and analyze them in its own way, like I'm doing here right now with this local range, and tying it all back together onto the bigger picture. That's, I would say, where the confidence for me really came from and comes from till the day of today. So yeah, that's not really necessarily strategy. I would say having a methodology is way more important than an actual. Of course, you need an actual strategy, but I would say a mindset and methodology is much more important, because that's what's gonna help you in the long run, and that's what's gonna help you in that's what's gonna help you in losing my train of thought here a little bit. That's what's gonna help you get through like setbacks. A strategy works at times, and there are also times that a specific strategy doesn't work. For example, the well-known SFP, swing failure pattern strategy, is a very profitable one, but that changed over the last few years as well, right? So having that methodology to be able to observe that, adapt that, and then trade from that again, I think that is really where the long-term profitability should come from, because then you're also independent, and that's ultimately, I would say, what your goal should be. If you want to have let me know if this answer was helpful for you. Let me know. If not, let me know, and I will try to be more specific. Dump then altcoin season. Possibly. Altcoins do look good, to be honest. Altcoins do look great. We do look great. I've been already going over a few altcoins in the last live stream, so check that out. It's definitely more for the higher time frames. I'm not really day trading altcoins at the moment. It's really on and off. At the moment, I'm a bit pressured for time, so I don't have so much time to trade so many different assets at the same time. because I'm developing a lot of stuff, and currently I'm mainly focused on Bitcoin, and the altcoins is for me more higher time frames. So it's less maintenance on managing those trades. So yeah, when you say lack, okay, so please discuss some strategies you use to decide the exact moment. Well, I mean, the going over that I think goes a bit out of the scope of the trade, so I don't really want to go into the exact execution that I do. I am actually making a course on how I'm doing that, but that is pretty much impossible to explain that in just 5 or 10 minutes. It would be, I would say, disrespectful to the price action to try and explain that in the shortest amount possible, because there's too much details going lost in that, and when it comes to execution, it is all about the details. On the last part of your question, where you say I often enter too quickly and then get stopped out before price goes my way, this is very common. Very, very, very common. And I would say either you're too aggressive or you have your stop loss placed too tight, or both, right? So a tip that I could give you is maybe try lowering your position size. That allows you to put your stop loss further away, and then just see if you still get stopped out. Try that for a little bit and go from there. Because if you then do not get stopped out, then it's pretty clear where your mistake was, and you can isolate that. That pretty much says then, okay, then you were placing your stop loss too tight. When I say lack of volume, I have a theoretical question. For example, you look at Bybit data. How do you know there is no volume on other exchanges? What do you consider a lot of volume in million? Okay, so I think that this I already answered just now, like a few minutes ago. It depends, because the markets are dynamic and they tend to change a lot. So it's not a matter of like, textbook example, $20 million in one 5-minute candle is a lot of volume. No, it entirely depends on how much volume is overall present in the market. So yes, I do check different exchanges as well. At the moment, for day trading, I like to use Bybit data, because that's the one that's available currently on ExoCharts to me, and does have good results. Binance obviously also has order flow available, although I do think there's a lot of noise in that order flow. Numbers are bigger. It still works though. It still works, but I just prefer this chart. And also what goes, especially when scalp trading and day trading, I don't necessarily need volume per se on other exchanges, because I'm trading on that particular exchange and I'm trading particular local price action, right? So sometimes price levels may differ per exchange. So on exchange A, we might have seen just a slightly deeper drop, and let's say on Bybit, for example, or another exchange, the actual low, the absolute low is slightly different. So I'm using one-to-one information on the local time frames. Long or short, 100x, mate. Go for it. Not financial advice, by the way. What's your thoughts on this uptrend? Yeah, like I said, at the moment, in order for me to take another look at the Elliott wave count, we either need to see a further progression to the upside, or we need to see a more significant downturn of events. At the moment, I have no reason to really change my Elliott wave, because it's all about validation and invalidation. And at the moment, all bullish counts are still valid, the bearish as well, So on the mid to high time frame, I'm ultimately still still looking for that 40,000. Well, ideally $50,000, really. Ultimately, this is on a high time frame. This is gonna take months, so we might do this. We might do this, or we even might do this. So in that regards, my Elliott wave counts have not changed yet. This being a wave 4 now, kind of has the least of my preference. So just a quick summary, where I said like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For me, yeah, well, technically it's still not invalidated really until $35,000. That is like technically, but it's not my favorite count anymore. So I prefer that B wave to be into play right now, or a more bullish count, right? And in both scenarios, I would foresee on the midterm time frame more upside. If we start getting back into this range, right, or if we start losing this range, that is when when it's time to return back to the counts and find reorganize one of the counts and adjust it for the most recent price action. But at the moment, I don't really have a reason to change that. So I foresee, market structure is king for me. So that's basically it. Hopefully that explains your question. So have I updated my Elliott wave count? No, I haven't. I'm still using it, and for me it's still very useful. I think people are just taking profits from buying on the 20K. Yeah, well, yes. That is one of the reasons. Absolutely. And we're going to see if that gets followed through, Are you looking at altcoins today? Today, no. However, actually, I am looking at ETH. ETH is actually looking great. Also, as expected, still bullish on ETH, have been for years. Funny thing is that last stream, I haven't changed anything since the last stream. So what we've done there is we've dropped to the value area low, backtested point of control, got rejected, took out these lows on the value area low again, and now we're actually busting through that point of control on the BTC pair. So I don't care about 2000 USDT value of ETH. I don't care about that. I care about this chart, and this chart looks good. So yeah, Ethereum looks great, and if Ethereum does well, then I would say 80% of altcoins is gonna do great. So yeah. Also, no real change on that. Let me see what's going. Oh, okay. We have something to update. Let's take a look at that. Very quick price action as well. Another take on the lows. So we are having still not enough volume to go down. So I would say this drop locally starting to weaken up, and we can already see a really quick price action. Really quick. Let me actually switch over to this chart, see what's going on. Yeah, so we do have people starting to become afraid. Also, one thing to keep in mind is the majority of the day we've actually spent below the VWAP, which is a very important intraday level for me. Shorting here, for me, is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. It's something I would definitely not do. I mean, we've spent significant amount of time, even deviated from that VWAP. Risky, very risky. On top of that, we also potentially have this SP over here. If you don't know what this means, then forget about it. If you do know what it means, I would say this lines up really nicely with this getting filled later on in the day, adding up to that potential backtest of that range that I mentioned earlier on at 29.5. Boom, getting some information out there, guys. Let me know how you like it. Power session, power hour. Here we go. By the way, smash the likes. We have 170 viewers, 175 viewers, 88 likes. Please, guys, help me out a little bit. Smash it. Uneven amount of times. Bam. And then I'm happy. Costs nothing. Let's do it. Poulette, when I have... Okay, I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm going to take a drink instead and read your question. I see. So, when I have a very nice entry, I struggle with holding the trade longer. Okay, so that's a very interesting thing. Also very, very, very common. This has to do with confidence. And organizing your trade ideas into time frames. So ask yourself the question. This is a question I cannot answer for you, but it's something you have to think about yourself. Is this a scalp trade? Is this a day trade? Or is this a swing trade? I mean, if you're looking for a swing trade and you take the position, then you should not necessarily be interested in what's the CVD divergence on the 1 minute or on the 3 minutes or on the 5 minutes. If you're trading a swing trade, your expectancy of that trade is to hold that trade for multiple days, even weeks. So, it's just a matter of taking the trade really and seeing what happens really. If you're taking a day trade, however, or even a scalp trade, then it becomes way more relevant, because just like how I've explained earlier on, you can add that new information into the way that you manage the trade. However, if you, let's say, take this as a, I would say the worst case scenario, and I think that's very common, people take, let's say, like, oh, I'm taking a scalp trade, right? And then price actually reaches a point where you should take profit on the scalp trade. You don't take profits because it's not enough for you. And that is where you start to over expect the trade and you deviate from your original idea, where maybe this happens and then that's when you're starting to deviate from your idea and then doing nothing and then ultimately, getting stopped out of the trade. I would say that is very common for many, many, many people. And you need to have an idea, like, okay, what type of trade am I looking for? I mean, if you're trading, let's say if you want to just have this very, very best entry here, and you're looking for the swing trade here to $32,000, right? Let's be honest. Locally, it looks very weak. It looks very weak. Like I said earlier in the stream, I think it's much more likely we're going to have another drop in price. See what we got over here. This is not hindsight analysis. I'm using the information that I'm reading right now in order to see and make a decision, or not a decision right now, but interpret it and connecting these dots. So if you're looking for a swing trade here right now, let's be honest, if you're entering into a trade right here, it's essentially catching a falling knife, because you're dropping out of the range, you're hanging in the middle of nowhere, the previous range is all the way over here. What makes you think that this is the best place to take a long trade right now? Right? We haven't reclaimed anything. As a matter of fact, we have literally reclaimed anything. There's absolutely no sign of strength locally here at all. So entering into a swing trade just over here is very close to gambling, right? Now, on the lower time frame, it can be very different. Because trading this range is much more realistic to expect, right? Than this being the bottom, and we're going to go to $32,000. So I think not having clear in your mind what type of trading you're really looking for causes you to be confused, and because of that, makes you lose confidence in the trade setup, right? So sitting on the trade, like you have to have, so this is the thing. I've said a long time, I'm talking years, you have to have patience to let a setup come to you. However, the same also goes for letting the trade validate itself. So you also need to have patience for that trade to actually start playing out. So I will use the example of my swing trade over here, right? Can't remember all the details, but basically I longed here 20,000 something. I think it was 20,000. I think it was here actually. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. But the point being is, being in this trade, I'm going here for a swing trade. So if I see local CVD divergences here, I'm not going to be afraid and close out of the trade if it, maybe it does then this and then this. No, I said like, okay, I have my trade idea where I'm looking for this, right, being taken out. If it reclaims that and changes market structure in that consolidation region that followed, that's where I made my decision. So I'm not going to be satisfied with, like taking profits here, 80%, where originally my idea was to actually trade this to $30,000, which was a big take profit level, by the way. So I did take profits on the swing trade now. But it's still open, so being patient for that idea to be playing out. And let's be honest, this took like 2 days, pretty much, from that low to actually reclaiming the range and going up. Took a while, so you need patience for your trade to sit and validate itself. The moment when we had this candle and started busting back into this range, that was where I would say like, okay, my trade idea is actually now validated. Right? So I think having that sorted out in your head, not over expecting, and actually saying what you're going to do. Like if you say to yourself before you get into the trade, I'm going to take profits here, then do it. No matter if it goes further, no matter if it then reverses, no matter if you maybe lose the trade, doesn't matter. Like just do as you said you would do. And you will see that you will have results. Maybe not great results, but stability and consistent behavior. That's key. That is really key. And from that, you can get your confidence, and from there on out, you can adjust and refine your strategy and move along. You need to have that structure. That's my advice. Hasta la vista, Barbie. Thank you for your comment. Thank you very much. Elliott wave suits macros. Yeah, so one reason I don't particularly like to talk about Elliott waves, because it's one of these beasts where it's almost like a scholar kind of thing. You have so many different schools of thought where one person says like, oh, but this person says a B wave should look like that, and this person says 1.6187 blah blah blah. So there's so many different literature. There's so many different traders. There's also a lot of traders that say like, Elliott wave don't work. And with Elliott waves in particular, this is everybody kind of knows it better. I'm just using it all based off my own experiences. Of course, I've read books, I've studied it in depth, long time. But over time, I've also found things that, especially on Bitcoin, just don't work like they work in the book. So I've kind of developed my own method. So that's why I'm not always too keen on really having discussions about Elliott wave, because there's a lot of things that people say they're correct, and there's a lot of people, that are just more people that are just simply incorrect. And it's just a little bit of a pointless discussion. So that's why I'm usually not liking to talk about it in depth on stream. And I do agree, it does suit macro stuff because it costs time. So it's a method that is very in depth, very precise if you do it well, but you also need to take your time off it. And in terms of that core philosophy, it kind of diverts a lot from scalp trading, because in scalp trading you need to observe price action, boom, make decisions, make that, you know. Although I've done it, I have been profitable off of it, but you just need to put in much more work than needed. That's what I would say about Elliott Wave. It's just not a method that particularly suits low time frame trading. Regardless of that, it can be done. It can be done. So if that's your thing, go for it. This is the cool thing about trading. You can make your own rules. Nobody tells you what to do. It's very freeing. You know, it's a lot of freedom comes with it. But with freedom comes responsibility. So, you know, manage your trade, take your losses. That's what a lot of people struggle with. If you struggle to hold on positions, I suggest accumulate small positions and forget about it. Small positions can get huge, especially on alts. Yeah, it's more an investing mindset. Yeah. That's very similar to dollar cost averaging. If you're more into investing side of things, which this channel is not necessarily about, it's more about trading. But yeah, if you're more on investing in really big time frames, then accumulating small positions on set periods of time can work very, very well. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Hear that, Mike? It's the sound of bulls screaming. Oh yeah, yeah. I might hear some bulls here and there. Yeah, you're right. I like this question for everyone. Is it about being right? And the finish got off. I kind of figure what you want to say. Is it about being right, or is it about making money, really? It's about making money. I mean, let's be honest, you know. Of course, I'm in it for the tech. Duh. But I'm also here to make money. And yeah, I don't care if I'm wrong. Honestly, I really don't care if I'm wrong. Of course, it feels great to be right, you know. It feels great. But that's more like an ego thing, honestly. It happens to be that I am often correct, but in the end, if I'm wrong, I have absolutely no problem to admit it, you know. And I'm also not having a problem talking about it. I actually done some videos on how a losing trade went, you know, because I'm trying to be a transparent channel. So you know, of course, I consider myself a decent trader. But I also make losses, and that's just part of the game. Like, I would say you really have to scratch your ears if anybody's claiming like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm having like 100% win rate. It's guaranteed if you follow my book, or you read it, or my course, or whatever, and you will guaranteed be profits, or buy my indicator, whatever. Scratch behind your ears, I would say, because it's just not realistic. Every trader makes losses, and in the end, it really is not necessarily about being right. It is about accepting that you're wrong, really. Accepting that you're wrong, the sooner, the cheaper it is for you. You know, so if you let your ego get into the way, and you keep on shouting and telling that Bitcoin is gonna go up, and you're clearly being proven wrong, holding on to that position is going to be very, very, very costly. You know, if you just admit that you're wrong, just cut out on your position, make a new plan, especially for day trading. You know, make a new plan, just take a different trade. And who cares? You know, who cares if I was wrong like 3 times maybe in a row? And then if I have one trade that's just a killer trade for the day, I'm still gonna be happy, because I'm still, you know, I'm still made made profits. Fair enough, you know. So it is the ability to extract money from the market, and describe what happened in hindsight is important to build context. So it does help you to make decisions in the future, if you're using it in the right way. If you're using it in the right way, I would say. But that's my personal opinion. So feel free to disagree. Um, Yeah, and I guess it does emphasize this a little bit, you know. So I guess you could say with this trade, with this long scalp trade, I kind of expected the bounce to go to about 29,750 ish. You know, I kind of expected that. But the moment where I saw that lack in strength, I kind of reassessed my original idea, where I literally said to myself, like, yeah, it might still go there, but at the moment, it's just not doing what I expected it to do. What I expected this to do, trap shorts, follow up with longs, boom, have that explosive price action so I can take some profits and then go from there. That never happened. So we just failed to do that. And that, you know, it already took here like an hour. And that was the moment where I simply said to myself, like, okay, I was kind of like wrong on the idea. Well, not necessarily wrong on the idea, but it's just not developing as I want. I want to see more power getting into that. And I anticipated on that to happen. It didn't happen. There was information that was not available to me at the time. When I did saw it happen, I decided, like, okay, maybe I'm wrong on this particular type of price action. So you know what? I'm going to take profits, actually close out of my trade, make money, and then look for a new opportunity, right? And that's what I did. Even though it was 0.3%, if you trade larger size, then 0.3% is more than enough. More than enough. So yeah, it is about, in the end, it's about cleaning up. That is what it's about. Ta-tum. Flush of longs is more likely, don't you? I'm not really sure what you believe, or what you mean with that, but well, yeah, at the moment, the situation really hasn't changed yet. So I expect more. I expect lower prices for the day, before we get a bigger bounce. If we start to reclaim that 20,650, well, then I was wrong. And the probability of backtesting that original level that I had mapped out for my scalp trade might come back into play. Don't the Wyckoff guys say that Elliot died poor? No idea. No idea. I absolutely have no idea. The theory works well for me, though. Although you have to understand, I don't make decisions solely based off of Elliott waves. You know, Elliott waves is like a construct for me, and I build around that. You know, backing this up with more with my own technical analysis and price action when prices reaches these levels. So for me, it does work. I mean, in the end, yeah, for me, it works. It works. I like it. I like elite waves. Would you say that there are certain ways to examine price market structure that help get an? Oh yeah, for sure. So the question is, I think I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. Are there certain ways of observing price action that help you get an edge that took me a while to figure out? Yeah, so I think the key thing is the once you understand that this is not a profession, because that's what it is. It's, you know, it's a craft, really. This is not something that is making you money really quickly, really fast, right? If you do, it's luck, right? But in order to really become consistent, it's not something like, oh, I'm gonna buy a trading book, I'm just gonna read that, and yeah, because this guy is successful, I'm gonna be successful as well. That is not highly unlikely going to be the case. You do need to spend time and effort on getting familiar with the charts. You need to observe the characteristics of how price behaves, which is dynamic. It changes from time to time. You need to be able to catch those changes in characteristics of the chart, and that takes time because you need to observe it. You need to spend time with the chart. You need to sync up with it. Now obviously following a course, reading a book, getting coaching obviously can speed up the process and get you a solid grip on what to address next. But ultimately, it is the experience and the time that you spend training your eye that will help you in the long run. Hopefully that helps. So spending time on the charts is really, really, really important. It's not like how it's being portrayed in the movies or in a lot of, especially in crypto. Like people just they wake up in the morning 12 a.m. They take their special bean coffee, from their homemade coffee machine. They just open up their computer and they just click on a few buttons. Boom, $5,000 made. No, that's not how it goes. I stand up at 7 in the morning every day. I do a workout. I make in-depth technical analysis. I make a plan. I do a pre-journal. That's already before the market even opens, so that I'm ready. With my trigger finger ready, knowing exactly what I'm going to do, what I'm looking for, where I'm gonna get in, where I'm wrong, where I'm going to take profits. Exactly, already everything figured out. It's already 2 hours of work done before even taking a single trade, right? It's hard work, you need dedication, and you need to work for it. Obviously, if that trade turns out to be a good trade, there are obviously a few opportunities every year. Let's say if you're not a day trader, there are swing traders that can definitely swing trades that can catapult you into new levels. Absolutely. But even on those kind of swing trades, as a matter of fact, that swing trade at $20,000, I spent about 1.5 week planning on that. Money allocation, trading the plan, going over all the different scenarios, portfolio construction, ready to hedge when necessary. A lot of preparation went into that trade. Then when the moment was there, I've been already spending 1.5 week on literally getting that idea ready. Doing everything that's necessary for me to trade this how I want to. So also you have to ask yourself, why would I spend so much time and then when the moment is not there, not take the trade? Of course I'm going to take the trade because I've spent 80 hours on preparing that. So actually taking the trade was a couple of seconds, but that's what I did. Boom. And, now we're 50% up. So, it's definitely worth it. Let me see. I do feel like I'm going on a rant here, so I apologize. How did you find taking the step from a job to full-time trading? Having a family to support? Yeah, it's tough because I was not born into money. I was not born into I didn't have a business or profitable business whatsoever. I was just working a day job and just having actually below average salary, really. So yeah, the transition is rough and hard. But for me at the time, it was all about long-term goals. I knew where I wanted to be in 10 years. And I just reminded myself every single day on where I wanted to be in 10 years. And essentially breaking that down into small steps, making it actionable for every day. And just every day, just having that desire and focus to do that eventually pulled me through. I'm not saying it wasn't hard. I'm not saying there were moments that I wanted to give up. Absolutely, there were multiple ones, even. I'm not saying that that I did dumb things during trading. Like wiping out an account, for example. I did that. I've been through all of that. Yes, it's difficult, but I think I've already made a video like how much money do you need with day trading. It's not like, a lot of people come in and they think like, okay, I hate my job, I hate my boss, but I have, let's say $3,000 to trade with, and with this I'm gonna be a millionaire, and within 1 year or 6 months I'm gonna go away, and I'm gonna be a full-time trader. That is simply not realistic, So I would recommend sticking with your day job, because yes, you have to put in your work in exchange for money. But if you know that you're working towards something bigger, eventually exchanging that for a more passive income once you are in investments and trades, it will pay off in the long run. And then all the money that you make on the side, so keep it as a side hustle initially, and using that money to learn, to trade, while not endangering yourself and your family during that time. And then once you really get the hang of it, and you've proven to yourself that you can be consistent, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about making home runs all the time, right? In the end, the focus, for me at least, was, okay, can I start trading and just pay my monthly bills? That was a big goal initially for me, because when you reach that point, then you can pretty much go full time. For me, it kind of had its up and downs, but that is what I would recommend. Keep it as a side hustle. If you make money while learning, great. Save it up and prove to yourself that you can actually do it. And then would be a good time to, to switch up. And of course, having a family makes things definitely much more difficult, So I was not in the situation that I had that. So for me, it was a little bit more easy, and it was a little bit more easy to take a bit more risks. That is definitely true. Not going to lie about that. But yeah, for me, I decided one day, like, I'm going to be a full-time trader, but I did not throw everything I had at the time just overboard and just went full-time just like that. That's not what I did. I did it more sensible. It was a transition. It's not from one day on the other, boom, that's it. Because let's say, even if you do, let's say, make good money from like a random altcoin that just pumped 1,000%, it doesn't mean you can trade. So even though you might have money then at the time, it's going to be probably temporary, because if you cannot trade and you decide to start trading with that, you will probably lose that. You will probably lose that if you cannot trade, because that trade was luck. And that's also the reason why a lot of people make a lot of money in the bull market. A lot of people make a lot of money in the bull market. It's easy to make money in a bull market, but there's very, very, very few people that still have enough money to reinvest during a bear market. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, we're already going on for 1.5 hours. I think it's starting to become time to wrap it up a little bit, and we'll go over a few more questions. It's all about identifying the invalidation for your scenario. Yep, absolutely. So dollar and Bitcoin are correlating as looks, but how does the chart look for you with the Swiss franc? Okay, so I don't really make an effort into correlating. Oops. correlating Bitcoin with other currencies, simply for the reason that whether you like it or not, the dollar is simply the global currency. So that's the one that really matters. All the other ones, even if they do have correlations, I'm not particularly interested in that because I'm interested in what the dollar does overall. Yeah. So let's actually take a quick look at the dollar. So I'm guessing that the dollar is retracing a little bit for the day because Bitcoin is going up. Let's see if that is actually the case. If not, then Bitcoin is starting to act on its own, which, yes, is the case currently. All right, so for today, it doesn't really look like the overall markets affect Bitcoin too much. It looks like Bitcoin is just kind of having its own party today, which is good to notice. You know, and correlations do come and go. So sometimes it might be a day that it's not correlated, and the other day it might be heavily correlated. I do think that the more we're starting to range here, so I think some last words on the current price section. I do think that the momentum of drop, now that we have new information, right? I do think that momentum on this downwards is now big enough. This is now a downward sloping range, which is for further downside starting to look a little bit unhealthy. In other words, the probability for getting a bounce shortly, soon, becomes higher, right? But still, we would really need to really start first testing these levels for that to actually be a viable idea. You know, until then, downside is still more probable, but it does look like this move down is starting to lose momentum and is weakening. Yeah, so we literally have a double swing failure. 1, 2. So yeah, let me see how that look low actually looks like. Yeah, it is starting to weaken off, you know. So the volume here from 70 million to 20 million to 10 million. I'm not expecting per se a super strong bounce from here because I would really love to see loads and loads of shorts being trapped. And it's currently not necessarily the case. So I kind of expect if we start bouncing from here, I'm kind of expecting like a low volume retracement. Of course, I mean, it can be wrong. Like I said, volume can come in anytime, but this is what I'm reading currently. So I'm kind of expecting a slow range. It does look like we're gonna test this 29,500. Also the point of control for today. If we reclaim that, yeah, it's starting to look a little bit better. Then we can actually get the bounce going. Potentially volume coming in after that level. Potentially. It's kind of what I would expect. So until then, I don't expect particularly a crazy amount of volume coming into the market. So very big, immediate. This is immediate time frame. So this is currently. This can change per minute. At the moment, 29.5, very important level for today. After that, we have 29,750, which is the VWAP, which also corresponds really nicely with that bottom of the range. So actually, it's really not that difficult if you take the time to observe and analyze the chart. If you have the tools available to you and know how to use them, it's really not that. It's really not that difficult. Hopefully, I helped you a little bit with understanding that today. Yeah, I kind of like doing this stream. We have really nice amount of viewers coming in. Thank you, guys. Can I ask one more time if you guys want to hit those likes? We're about 50 short of the amount of viewers that are in here right now. Costs nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm out here giving you all live analysis on the chart, reading it together with you guys, answering some questions. So help me out here. Pump the likes. It's good for the YouTube pumpamentals as we are making our way to 5,000 subscribers. If I reach that, I'm gonna do something special. I'm gonna do something special. That would be a really personal milestone. It would be amazing. Right. So let me take a few questions. What books did you read were influential in your career as a trader? Market Wizards, 100%. Blink of an Eye also for making short-term decisions. More psychological book. It's not connected to trading, but that was a good one. Blink of an Eye. Indie Blink of an Eye. Something like that. Great book. Difficult to digest though. But Market Wizards in terms of trading and, just dealing with your emotions. Paul Tudor Jones, great OG. Rest in peace. Unfortunately, great trader. Biggest of all time. What tools are you using and what's the cost of these tools monthly? I have no idea what they cost, but basically TradingView, ExoCharts. What else do I use? Interactive brokers for stocks. Yeah, that's kind of about it, really. Yeah, and I use a couple of trading portals. One I use is HyperTrader. It's free to use actually, and Atas as well. However, you do need to pay if you want to trade stocks or, want to use advanced functionalities of HyperTrader in particular. Honestly, I don't know what the costs. I don't know. It's not expensive, like ExoChart's actually really affordable, considering that in traditional markets, order flow software is $2,000-$3,000 a month. So really, like $25, $35, $50 a month or whatever. I don't remember. On ExoCharts, it's basically a no-brainer for me. Shout out to you guys, ExoCharts, you're kings. I know you're watching, so there you go. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, we have some new people joining. There we go. A little bit late, but welcome. I'm about to actually wrap it up. Thanks a lot, guys, for your support. Makes me really happy. Also excited. So it's a blast to do these streams with you guys. I found the quality of questions also really good. I actually was hoping for also more real life questions and stuff like that, but most of them you just want to only extract trading knowledge from me, as it seems, which is fine, obviously, but that's that's okay. I really enjoy it. So thank you guys for joining. It's been a blast. Unfortunately, volatility died down for a little bit, so I think we did had some really good opportunity to just go over, giving you a little bit of glimpse on how I think on certain situations. So we've gone over past price action, potential setups that analyzing it in the past, but we've also done live analysis and how the current range is progressing. And you can see that, it works. You can see that it works. So there we go. Is there free order flow software? Actually, yeah, I already see somebody answered it in the chat. Yeah, Atas is free, but I don't like it. I don't like it. For me, it's way too much numbers. I like the small the small number notification, like 3.1 mil. Like I'm struggling with reading like 3.1 and then a whole bunch of zeros and numbers. It confuses me. So as a trader, I want to focus on. Not getting confused by lots of numbers. So I want to focus on other things while I'm scalping and trading. So that's why I prefer ExoCharts above anything else. And it's also, great developers there. They're really pushing it hard. BitGet's also going to be included soon, by the way. So that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that personally because I hold that exchange in quite high regards. I trade on it quite heavily nowadays as well. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. Um, if you wanna, there's I think a affiliate link in the description. So if you're interested, then click on it. I think you get some discounts on fees, so can be good. But your choice. Um, yeah, I don't sound ill. I've just literally been talking for 4 hours straight today, so my voice is starting to lead on to this. I've been in a lot of talks today before the stream as well, so it's a good time to wrap it up as well. And I don't want to go all out, which I pretty much have done after I've just been sick. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Pay attention to my voice, because I don't really want to have another issue with anything with my nose or my throat just after one stream, because I want to do more. So have a really good day. Yeah, I saw the scam stuff. Yeah, well, it's all basic. It's just being it's just it's FUD, really. There's just a bunch of people just trying to badmouth exchanges in order to get something from other exchanges. So don't believe everything you read. The other day it was exchange A, and I think they also then it was again about Binance, then it was about KuCoin or whatever. So it's kind of like planned out boycott strategy or whatever. So personally, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I'm not paying attention to that. For me, everything is fine. I trade on there. Nothing has happened. I've quite a large amount of funds on there. Nothing has happened. So, yeah, that's that. Do I miss anything? Well, final conclusion, I guess then. So I expect a little bit more downside because it looks really weak. There's no real conviction, for price to be pushing back up. If we do, I expect slightly lower prices, potentially backtesting the 28,600 before we might see a bigger bounce. If it happens earlier, that's fine too. I want to see a local change of market structure, changing that 29,500 first. Then we have the VWAP of today, or in other words, 29,750. If we reclaim that, only then I would be looking up for that $30,000 region simply again. So those are my final words on Bitcoin and the chart and the stream today. And with that, I want to thank you for joining me, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. So thanks a lot, guys, for supporting me once again, and see you in the next one. Cheers.